Welcome to The Elephant in the Brain, uncovering the truth behind our actions. In this audiobook, we embark on a journey to explore the hidden motives that shape our behaviors and influence our decisions. Often, we are unaware of the underlying forces driving us, concealed by the stories we tell ourselves and the facades we maintain. This journey will reveal the truths we often ignore, providing insight into our inner workings and the social dynamics that affect our actions. Through personal anecdotes, psychological insights, and cultural observations, each chapter offers a revealing look into why we act the way we do. You'll learn about the masks we wear, the power of self-deception, and the intricate dance between rationality and emotion. We'll explore the influence of culture, the art of vulnerability, and the pursuit of genuine happiness. This audiobook, brought to you by Spark Spirit 10, is an invitation to explore the depths of your own mind, to understand the complex interplay of motives and actions, and to ultimately live a more intentional and authentic life. Let's begin. Chapter 1. The Masks We Wear. The Nature of Facades. We often build facades to navigate through the unpredictable terrain of social interactions. These facades, crafted with meticulous care, serve as a protective shield over our vulnerabilities. I remember countless moments when I stood in front of a mirror, adjusting my smile, perfecting the tone of my voice, and even rehearsing lines in my head before stepping into a room full of strangers. Each layer of my facade was designed to conceal the insecurities lurking beneath, a fear of judgment, a desire for acceptance, and an overwhelming sense, at times, of not being enough. When I engage with others, whether it's a casual exchange or a deeper conversation, there's an instinctive urge to present a polished version of myself. This is an essential dance of human existence, where we risk revealing parts of ourselves even as we knowingly hide aspects of our true selves. The complexity of these facades lies in the personas we adopt, each tailored for different contexts. I have often found myself switching roles as if I were an actor in a play, seamlessly transitioning from a confident professional at work to a more reserved version of myself among family or friends. Each persona carries its own set of expectations, demands, and expressions, allowing us to navigate various environments. This delicate balancing act intrigues me deeply. It unveils the multifaceted nature of human identity. In some situations, I may embody assertiveness, while in others, I am more approachable and soft-spoken. The intertwining of these traits creates a rich tapestry of who we are, reflecting the values, experiences, and perhaps the challenges that have shaped us. Understanding the nature of these facades is not merely an exercise in self-awareness but an opportunity for connection. By recognizing our own masks, we can also perceive the layers in others, the guarded smiles, the practiced phrases, the hesitations in dialogue. This can foster compassion and encourage authentic interactions. One practical step to explore this further is to reflect on your own facades and the roles you play. Try journaling about specific situations where you feel the need to adapt your persona. Ask yourself what aspects of your true self you might be hiding and why. The journey to unmasking ourselves can lead to more genuine relationships and a deeper understanding of ourselves and others. Why we hide our true selves. Societal pressures can be immense, often urging us to conform to expectations that feel foreign to our true nature. From a young age, we learn to wear masks, putting on a facade that allows us to fit into a world that sometimes feels ready to judge us for our authenticity. The fear of rejection is a large whispering, insidious thought about who we should be rather than who we are. This pressure manifests in many aspects of life, whether it's the need to maintain a polished appearance on social media or to adopt beliefs that align with what is deemed acceptable by peers, family, or culture. Every interaction can feel like a performance, where revealing our real selves is a risk that could lead to alienation. We become conditioned to hide our quirks, our passions, and even our fears, living in a way that feels safer but ultimately suffocating. Reflecting on my own experiences, I remember times when shame crept in, burying my true thoughts under layers of embarrassment. There were moments in school where I felt like an outsider, and the simplest act of sharing my interest in a particular hobby felt daunting. I recall the snickers when I opened up about my love for writing poetry and how it made me feel exposed and vulnerable. I wore my mask of indifference like armor, pretending it didn't matter to me when, in reality, it stung deeply. The longing to be seen for who I really was battled with the instinct to blend in, shaping interactions into a tightrope walk where any misstep could lead to judgment. The journey of masking my true self often left me feeling isolated, as if I were conversing with shadows instead of real connections. In navigating these complexities, I've learned that embracing our authentic selves is a powerful step toward genuine connection. It can start with small acts of vulnerability, like sharing a thought or interest that we usually keep to ourselves. Every time we choose authenticity over conformity, we not only liberate ourselves but also inspire those around us to do the same. The world often needs the kind of courage that comes from revealing our true selves. In the act of unmasking, we may find not only freedom but also the seeds of deep, meaningful relationships that are anchored in truth rather than pretense. The safety of illusion. There is a strange comfort in the facades we construct for ourselves. Every morning, I wake up and don the cloak of normalcy, allowing its fabric to envelop me. I smile at passers-by, exchanging pleasantries while the true essence of my being hides behind a mask. This facade, I realize, is a safety net, offering me a sense of security that shields me from the harsh winds of reality. It is an illusion, yes, but one that feels warm and inviting. Society encourages it. We are all expected to maintain a certain appearance, a veneer of happiness and success. The truth is, within this comfortable cocoon, I am simultaneously untouched and utterly unfulfilled, buoyed by the pretense that life is as it should be. This realization forced me to question everything. If the facade was my shield, then what lay on the other side? It dawned on me that the fear of being seen, truly seen, was the very thing that held me captive. I began to embrace my flaws, my insecurities, and the rawness of my being that I had long neglected. Each time I let down my guard, I felt lighter, as if shedding layers of pretension. Though the journey was daunting, it slowly transformed my perception of safety. I discovered that true security comes not from the masks we wear but from the courage to unveil and confront our genuine selves. Life, in all its unpredictability, is far richer when we embrace reality, imperfections and all. A practical tip for anyone starting this journey is to carve out a moment each day for reflection. Ask yourself what parts of your life feel like an illusion and gently peel back the layers to discover the truth that lies beneath. Chapter 2. The Stories We Tell Ourselves. Beneath the surface, the narratives of justification. We often find ourselves weaving intricate tales that help us make sense of our actions and choices. Each story we tell is a carefully constructed narrative where we paint ourselves as heroes or victims, depending on what feels most comfortable. I realized this during a recent conversation with a friend who shared a decision made out of necessity that later became a source of guilt. As she recounted her story, I couldn't help but notice how she had framed her decisions in a light that almost absolved her of responsibility. It made me reflect on my own life, where I too have crafted narratives that justify my actions, whether they stem from ambition, fear, or simply the desire to fit in. These narratives play a crucial role in shaping our identities, influencing not just how we view ourselves but also how others perceive us. When faced with a choice, we often dig into our personal archives, pulling out anecdotes that support our decisions, no matter how arbitrary they may seem in the grand scheme of things. The art of justification allows us to align our past choices with our present selves, offering comfort in a world that often feels chaotic. However, as I delve deeper into these narratives, I confront another layer of complexity: hindsight bias. This phenomenon colors our memories, leading us to believe that our past decisions were more logical than they actually were. It's almost as if a fog lifts, and I see the road I traveled with perfect clarity, forgetting the uncertainty and doubt that surrounded my choices at the time. I've often revisited moments where I felt lost, convinced that I should have seen the outcome coming. These moments shaped who I am today, yet my memories distort the process, giving me the false belief that I was in control all along. With hindsight, I craft a narrative that highlights my wisdom while overlooking the vulnerability I felt, which is a disservice to my journey. We can become our own critics, forgetting that each choice was a step into the unknown, much like standing on the edge of a cliff, unsure of whether to leap or to stay put. Embracing both the narratives we create and the biases that affect them can lead to powerful insights. Understanding that our stories are shaped by the lenses we choose allows us to approach our past with compassion rather than judgment. A practical approach I found helpful is to journal about pivotal moments in my life without the filter of justification first. This helps me capture the raw emotions I felt at the time, acknowledging my fears and uncertainties. Only then do I revisit those moments to understand the narratives I created afterward. In doing so, I can honor both the struggle and the growth that came from each decision. This practice not only fosters self-reflection but also paves the way for more authentic storytelling that is less about justification and more about genuine understanding. Crafting our identity. In the quiet moments of my life, I often find myself reflecting on the stories that weave the fabric of my identity. Each narrative is a delicate thread pulled from memories, experiences, and dreams that shape who I believe I am. These stories are powerful. They offer me a lens through which I interpret the world around me. Sometimes, I think of my identity as a book filled with chapters that tell tales of my childhood, of triumphs and failures, of the people who have loved me and those who have left. We adopt these stories as a way to understand ourselves and to connect with others. For instance, I proudly recount my family's heritage, a rich tapestry of cultures that fill my heart with pride. Yet, as I tell these tales, I realize they are not just facts. They are interpretations that have been colored by my emotions and the perceptions of those around me. However, the narratives we cling to can clash violently with reality. I have faced moments when my constructed identity crumbled under the weight of unexpected truths. I remember a time when I was confronted with a painful reality that went against the optimistic story I had built around my career aspirations. I had always seen myself as a budding artist destined for greatness, but rejection after rejection forced me to confront a narrative that did not match the world I was experiencing. It was jarring to witness my self-image clash with the harsh realities of the art community. These conflicting stories can lead to confusion, resentment, and sometimes a deep sense of loss. The disconnect between who I thought I was and who I was becoming created an identity crisis that pushed me into a labyrinth of self-doubt and fear. Through these challenges, I learned that embracing the full complexity of my identity means acknowledging both the stories I tell myself and the truths life presents. It's a continuous journey of balancing aspiration and reality, of constructing a self that is resilient enough to adapt and grow. A practical tip I can offer from my own experience is to allow yourself the freedom to rewrite your identity narrative when faced with conflicts. Instead of clinging to the old story, consider what new truths you can embrace. Letting go of a rigid sense of self can open doors to new possibilities and paths you never imagined. Identity is not a fixed destination. It is a dynamic process of discovery, creating space for growth and transformation in the ever-evolving story of who we are. The power of persuasion within. We often underestimate the strength of our internal dialogue. Every day, we navigate a landscape filled with choices, doubts, and aspirations. In these moments, we become our own best salespeople, crafting narratives that align our choices with our desires. The way we talk to ourselves is powerful. It shapes our beliefs and ultimately molds our realities. I remember times when I stood at a crossroads, feeling overwhelmed by uncertainty. It was in those moments that I had to sell myself on the idea of taking the leap, whether it was pursuing a new job, ending a toxic relationship, or even deciding to take a solo trip. The convincing didn't come from external sources, but from the dialogues bubbling within me. By framing my fears as mere challenges to overcome and my aspirations as achievable goals, I transformed hesitation into determination. The conversations I had with myself became the foundation of my decisions, making me the architect of my own future. However, this inner persuasion isn't devoid of consequences. The stories we tell ourselves can dramatically influence not just our actions but our relationships as well. When I believed that my worth depended solely on external validation, I found myself in cycles of unhealthy relationships, yearning for affirmation instead of fostering genuine connections. Those same narratives colored my perceptions of others, leading me to interpret their actions through a lens of insecurity, creating distance I never intended. Self-persuasion can become a double-edged sword. While it can empower us to strive for our dreams, it can also anchor us to misconceptions that hinder our growth. Recognizing this dynamic can be liberating. The moment I took responsibility for my self-narrative, I broke free from the patterns that no longer served me. I learned to discern when my inner voice was constructive and when it was fear masquerading as wisdom. Being aware of my self-persuasion process has become an ongoing journey. A practical tip I've embraced is to treat my thoughts like a personal sales pitch. I ask myself if I would buy into the story I'm telling. Is it honest? Does it energize me or drain me? This mindfulness has opened a dialogue, leading to clearer decision-making that honors both my ambitions and my values. By shifting the narrative, we can navigate life's complexities with greater clarity and confidence, inviting healthier relationships along the way. Chapter 3. Social Mirror. Reflection of our actions. Learning from social feedback. Every interaction I have with peers and society at large teaches me something valuable. Social feedback acts as a mirror, reflecting not only our actions but also the underlying beliefs and assumptions we hold. I remember when I first shared my artwork publicly, I had no idea how others would respond. The reactions ranged from admiration to harsh criticism. Each response, whether uplifting or devastating, shaped my understanding of my creative process and nudged me toward growth. It's fascinating how the voices around us, often instant and unfiltered, can guide our self-perception and ambitions. That kind of feedback grants us insights into what resonates with others and helps me refine my intentions and endeavors. The feedback is not just noise, it becomes a vital part of my learning journey, urging me to evolve as a person. Internalizing social norms and expectations has been another profound realization in this exploration. I've observed how societal pressures can subtly influence our behaviors, sometimes leading us to act in ways that align with the majority rather than our true selves. In moments when I have felt the weight of expectation, I found myself conforming, just as many do, in hopes of acceptance. Over time, though, I began to recognize these patterns and how they intersect with my values and aspirations. The dance between individuality and conformity is delicate. While it's crucial to respect social norms, it's equally important to question and redefine them when they clash with who I really am. To embrace my individuality while acknowledging the shared values around me is a balancing act that urges me to be authentic in every space I inhabit. If I've learned anything through this journey of social feedback, it's that authenticity enhances our relationships and fortifies ourselves. Engaging actively with the feedback we receive can transform it into a tool for deeper self-understanding, allowing us to navigate through societal expectations without losing sight of our unique paths. Remember, feedback isn't just about approval or rejection. It's an invitation to reflect, adapt, and blossom. Group dynamics and individual choices. Every interaction within a group can be a delicate balance between our personal beliefs and the powerful pull of conformity. I've often found myself standing at this crossroads, feeling the currents of group dynamics swirling around me. One moment, I'm surrounded by voices and opinions that coax me toward a common belief. The next moment, a flicker of doubt arises within me, igniting the desire to assert my individuality. The pressure to conform can be subtle, creeping in slowly as I navigate discussions and decisions. This tension becomes palpable in moments that seem trivial yet hold considerable weight. For instance, the cheerful enthusiasm of friends choosing a restaurant or the heated debates over which movie to watch. As I try to gauge what everyone wants, I often feel a tug-of-war within myself. Do I voice my preference for the new Thai place, or do I nod along with the majority that favors the familiar pizza spot? The internal dialogue creates a fascinating backdrop that reveals how our choices are informed by the people we surround ourselves with, often leaving us questioning if we truly desire what we settled for. Reflecting on my own experiences, I recall when I joined a new book club. I had always loved discussing literature, but walking into that circle of enthusiastic readers, I felt the weight of their expectations. They were passionately drawn to specific genres and authors, while I clung to my eclectic taste, unsure of how to navigate this new territory. Each time it was my turn to share, I found myself gravitating toward the popular titles that seemed to unite the group, while deep down, I longed to discuss the quirky novels I had cherished. There were moments of clarity after sharing my true preferences. I realized that authenticity, while initially daunting, fostered deeper connections. As I slowly revealed my individuality, I encouraged others to do the same. This shift built a vibrant atmosphere where we respected each other's choices and opinions, allowing us to explore new horizons in literature and life. The key lesson here is recognizing the silent yet powerful influence groups have on us and acknowledging that our individual expressions can enrich the collective experience. Embracing the complexity of group dynamics doesn't mean disregarding our voices. Rather, it invites a dance between harmony and individuality. The next time you find yourself in such a situation, remember that your unique perspective holds value, and expressing it can transform the group experience into something truly rewarding. By nurturing that courage to speak up, we learn not only about ourselves but also about the collective tapestry woven by our diverse choices. The illusion of independence. It's fascinating to examine how we perceive ourselves as independent beings, free to make our own choices and determine our own paths. Yet, as I've lived, I've come to realize that our sense of autonomy is often an illusion, shaped significantly by external influences. From the subtle pressures of societal norms to the more pronounced rules of family and culture, it's astonishing how much these elements weave into the fabric of our decisions and beliefs. We think we are charting our own course, bravely marching into the unknown, but the echoes of others' expectations and experiences often resonate louder than our own voice. In this intricate dance of individuality and influence, I found that recognizing these external forces is the first step toward truly understanding the self. The faces of friends and family guide us, the media bombards us with ideals, and sometimes even strangers' opinions can subliminally nudge us toward choices that may not genuinely reflect who we are. This realization has been both liberating and unsettling, as it prompts me to question which of my choices are rooted in my own desires and which are mere reflections of the world around me. Reflecting on my personal journey, there have been countless moments of revelation that shattered my preconceptions of independence. I vividly remember a time when I attempted to undertake a significant project completely alone, convinced I could manage everything without help. As I dove deeper into the work, it became overwhelmingly clear that I couldn't do it by myself. The isolation not only stifled my creativity but also dimmed my passion for the task. It was during this challenging period that I reached out for support, leading to unexpected collaborations with some remarkable individuals. I discovered how reliance on others could not only enhance my experience but bring forth unique perspectives that shaped the outcome in ways I never could have imagined alone. These moments made me appreciate the intricate web of interdependence that binds us together, teaching me that acknowledging this connection doesn't diminish my autonomy but rather enriches it. Each interaction we have has the potential to inspire us and drive us forward, making us recognize that we are stronger together. Understanding the interplay between independence and interdependence can be transformative. It allows us to navigate our choices intentionally, always honoring our individuality while being open to the influence of those around us. We can embrace the notion that seeking help or relying on others isn't a weakness but a testament to our shared human experience. The next time you find yourself wrestling with the burden of doing it all alone, remember that collaboration could lead you to paths of creativity and joy that you might not find on your own. Engage with the people in your life, share your struggles, and open up to their perspectives. Your journey toward understanding your true self may well blossom in those shared moments. Chapter 4: Beneath the Surface. Hidden Motives. Unpacking our desires. Desires shape the choices we make and the paths we walk. In the quiet moments of reflection, I find myself diving deeper into the layers of my wants and needs. What lies beneath the surface often reveals a complex tapestry interwoven with childhood dreams, societal expectations, and personal fears. These desires are not just fleeting whims, they are the driving forces behind our actions, often unnoticed yet profoundly influential. Understanding them requires honesty and courage, especially when one needs to face the uncomfortable truths about what truly motivates us. Often, it's the aspiration for love, belonging, and purpose that fuels our journey, even if we initially pursue more superficial goals like wealth or status. The tension between our apparent motives and our hidden aspirations often creates a rich inner dialogue. I recall moments where I chased after what society celebrated: success in the form of a coveted job title, material possessions that signaled achievement. Yet, in those pursuits, I would frequently feel an emptiness that hinted at deeper, unacknowledged yearnings. It's like standing on a shore, gazing at the horizon, with the waves beneath pulling me toward something intangible. When I finally allowed myself to peel away the layers of my desires, I discovered a longing for creativity and meaningful connections that I had silenced in favor of a more conventional path. Many of us live in this dual space where dreams clash with expectations, revealing that our most authentic desires often lie buried beneath the weight of social pressure. Recognizing this interplay is a powerful step toward personal freedom. The process of unpacking our desires invites us to ask hard questions. What do I really want? Am I pursuing this for myself or to fit in? This journey often leads to clarity, aligning our life choices with what genuinely resonates within. Take a moment to listen to your inner voice. Reflect on what ignites your passion and honor those desires that bring fulfillment rather than merely fleeting satisfaction. This connection with our true selves not only enriches our lives but fosters a deeper understanding of our shared human experience, paving the way for more meaningful relationships and a sense of purpose. The influence of unconscious bias. Unconscious biases operate under the radar of our conscious awareness, influencing our thoughts and choices in ways we often fail to recognize. When I think back to various decisions throughout my life, I realize how these hidden attitudes shaped everything from my interactions with others to the opportunities one pursued. Bias is formed by societal norms, personal experiences, and cultural conditioning, seeping into our decision-making processes and often leading us to favor or dismiss people based on superficial judgments. For instance, when I was deciding who to promote in my workplace, I caught myself favoring candidates who mirrored my background and beliefs. It wasn't that I intended to overlook diverse talent. Rather, I was unknowingly leaning toward what felt familiar and comfortable. This unexamined inclination has the power to shape hiring practices, friendships, and even community dynamics, reinforcing divides we may not even recognize exist. Reflecting on my own experiences, I remember a moment at a community event where I was struck by how quickly I categorized people based on my initial impressions. I met a woman who looked very different from anyone I usually interacted with. Her style, her mannerisms, everything about her felt alien. I realized I was mentally pulling back, assuming she wouldn't relate to my interests or thoughts simply because of her appearance. Over the course of the conversation, however, it became clear that we shared a deep passion for social justice issues, and her insights challenged and expanded my views in ways I had never anticipated. It was a vivid reminder of how my unconscious biases had set up a barricade, preventing a genuine connection. In those moments of unrecognized bias, I learned not just about others but about myself, a journey to become more aware and inclusive in my perceptions. Understanding unconscious bias is about acknowledging its existence and recognizing its impact on our daily lives. We must actively cultivate awareness by questioning our instinctive thoughts and assumptions. One practical tip I found helpful is to engage in conversations with individuals from diverse backgrounds, seeking to hear their stories with an open heart and mind. This practice not only enriches our understanding but helps to dismantle the barriers formed by our biases. It's a step toward a more inclusive mindset, where we begin to see the beauty in diversity rather than the discomfort of the unknown. The drive for validation. In our journey through life, we often find ourselves yearning for validation. It's a powerful force that shapes our actions and decisions, leading us down paths we might never have considered otherwise. As I reflect on my own experiences, I recognize how this intrinsic need has influenced my behavior in ways both subtle and profound, from the way I interact with friends to how I present myself online. The pursuit of approval has woven itself into the fabric of my existence. The likes on a photo or the praise from colleagues feel like paying homage to our sense of worth. I have often caught myself scrolling through social media, feeling a rush of elation with every notification that pops up. Each like feels like a pat on the back, a momentary validation that whispers, "You matter." However, this quest for external validation brings with it a stirring conflict. On one hand, I chase those fleeting moments of approval, while on the other, I yearn for a deeper sense of internal fulfillment. I find myself caught in a relentless struggle, a duel that often feels like it has no end. The constant battle between rational thought and emotional instinct is familiar to anyone who has ever faced a decision or dilemma that tugs at their heartstrings and logic alike. Rationality often presents itself as a calm voice, offering clear, calculated reasoning, while emotions swirl around me like a storm, intense and overwhelming. I grapple with the logic of what I think I should do, contrasting with the pull of how I truly feel. This internal tug-of-war is not just a mere inconvenience. It's a fundamental part of being human, shaping my experiences and guiding my choices in ways I sometimes struggle to understand. I've learned that rational thought is essential, grounding me in facts and strategies. Yet, it's the emotional instinct that, more often than not, leads me toward experiences that make me feel alive. This dynamic interplay is a dance, a complex rhythm that I've come to respect. What happens, though, when one side of this internal conflict begins to overshadow the other? I remember a time when I let my rational mind control every aspect of a significant decision. It seemed prudent. After all, I weighed pros and cons as if I were balancing a scale, convinced that pure logic would lead me to the right answer. But in my attempt to embrace rationality, I silenced my emotions, disregarding what my heart was screaming for. The choice I made felt like a victory at first, but soon I found myself trapped in a reality that felt hollow. I had ignored the rich tapestry of desires, fears, and passions that naturally wove through my being. The consequences were profound. I was left with a deep sense of dissatisfaction, a reminder that while logic can guide us, it is often our emotions that ignite the spark of fulfillment in our lives. You might find yourself dancing along the same line many do. Striking a balance between emotional instinct and rational thought is vital. I've learned that when I honor both sides, when I allow my heart and mind to converse rather than compete, the outcomes are far more rewarding. Embracing this dialogue has become a personal practice, one that acknowledges that emotions are not mere distractions but powerful elements of understanding who I truly am. The next time you face a choice that weighs on your heart and mind, try to listen to both. Allow yourself the grace to not only analyze the facts, but also to feel your way through the emotions associated with them. This balanced approach may very well illuminate paths you hadn't considered, revealing possibilities that resonate with your most authentic self. Emotional intelligence as a guide. Emotional intelligence has dramatically reshaped my understanding of decision-making. The ability to perceive emotions, both in myself and in others, has become a compass that directs my choices. It goes beyond traditional reasoning or analysis. It taps into the essence of human connectivity and empathy. Emotions are signals. They tell us when something feels right or wrong, often bypassing the logical thought process entirely. When faced with important decisions, I have learned that ignoring these emotional insights can lead to missteps. It is not just about weighing pros and cons, but also about sensing the atmosphere of a room, understanding unspoken dynamics, and gauging how my choices could impact both my feelings and those of others. This blend of emotional intuition with rational thought has led to decisions that align with my core values, fostering a deeper sense of integrity and satisfaction in my outcomes. Balancing emotional insights with rational analysis may seem challenging at first, but it has become an art form in my life. I often find myself at a crossroads between how I feel about a situation and what logic dictates I should do. The key strategy one employs is to create space between the emotional reaction and the final decision. When emotions run high, I take a step back, allowing myself time to process feelings without the rush of immediate action. Journaling has become invaluable in this. I pour my feelings onto the page, which helps me untangle emotions from the objective details of the decision. After calming the emotional waves, I revisit the facts with a clearer mind. In this dual process, I invite rational analysis into my emotional landscape and appreciate how they can inform one another. This nuanced dialogue between the heart and mind allows for a more holistic approach to decision-making. Ultimately, developing emotional intelligence has been transformative, leading me to insights about the complexities of the human experience. It's not merely about being aware of emotions, it's about harnessing that awareness as a guiding force. When I incorporate both emotional insights and rational thought, I find myself making decisions that are not only effective but nurturing to my relationships and personal growth. A useful tip to cultivate this balance is to routinely check in with your emotions before making a decision. Ask yourself what you're feeling, why, and how those feelings can be aligned with the logic of your situation. This practice of emotional honor can illuminate paths you may not have previously considered, enriching your journey through both personal and professional realms. Making sense of mixed signals. Confusion often arises when we encounter conflicting emotional and rational signals. I've experienced moments in my life when my mind was clear as day, yet my heart felt entangled in a web of emotions that seemed to scream in contradiction. It's disorienting to feel a rush of excitement about an opportunity while simultaneously being gripped by anxiety about taking the leap. This paradox becomes even more complicated when others also send mixed messages. A friend might offer praise, but their body language suggests hesitation. This kind of turmoil can leave us questioning our instincts, leading us to doubt not just ourselves but also the sincerity of those around us. The struggle to align these signals often feels like walking through a fog, where every step is shadowed by uncertainty. Reflecting on my own experiences, I remember a particular incident that brought this confusion to a head. I had been in a relationship that felt both exhilarating and deeply troubling. My partner would profess their love in moments of tenderness, yet there were days when their silence was deafening, leading me to wonder if I was merely a placeholder in their life. I often found myself replaying our conversations, looking for hidden meanings and analyzing every interaction through a microscope. I learned that deciphering these mixed messages was like trying to solve a puzzle without knowing what the picture was supposed to look like. It taught me the importance of trust and the power of direct communication. When feelings are tumbled together like mismatched laundry, it often takes a courageous heart to sort through the chaos. Understanding mixed signals is an essential part of navigating relationships and circumstances. Instead of becoming paralyzed by confusion, it can be beneficial to take a step back and clarify the intentions behind these messages. One practical tip I've learned is to ask questions that invite openness. When I feel the weight of mixed signals, I've found that gently probing for clarity not only eases my own mind but also prompts others to reflect on their feelings. This shift toward openness fosters authenticity in relationships, providing a clearer path through the fog of emotional turmoil. Chapter 7. The Role of Culture. Cultural Influences on Behavior. Cultural upbringing plays a significant role in shaping our behaviors and values, often in ways we don't even realize. As I reflect on my own life, I see how the stories told around the dinner table, the traditions observed during holidays, and the community gatherings all contributed to the person I am today. Each culture has its nuances, instilling beliefs about family, work, and friendship that influence how we interact with the world. For example, in my upbringing, respect for elders was not just a lesson, it was a way of life, expressed in every greeting and conversation. This foundational value colors my perceptions of authority and companionship, making me more empathetic and mindful of those who have come before me. Similarly, values such as individualism, found in Western cultures, versus collectivism, prevalent in Eastern societies, shape our decisions, aspirations, and our very sense of self. I've learned that these deeply embedded values can guide us through life, offering both compass and anchor, influencing our choices in ways that are often invisible yet profoundly telling. However, the interplay between personal beliefs and cultural norms can create a complex landscape of conflict. I've often found myself torn between what I have been taught to believe and what I have come to understand as I ventured into diverse social circles. The challenge arises when my personal experiences lead me to question cultural expectations. For instance, navigating the expectations around career paths in my community often felt stifling. I saw how my peers were molded into specific roles based on traditional values, while secretly yearning to explore uncharted territories. This dichotomy sparked internal dilemmas within me. Do I adhere to the cultural norm of pursuing a well-established career, or do I chase my passion, risking the disappointment of those I love? Such clashes can evoke profound emotions, and the struggle to reconcile them often leads to growth, and at times, heartache. Yet, these experiences teach resilience and can ultimately guide us to carve out a unique identity that respects our cultural heritage while embracing who we truly are. Understanding these cultural influences isn't merely an academic exercise, it's a pathway to self-discovery. As we navigate our beliefs and values shaped by collective narratives, we should also engage in open dialogues with ourselves and others. Embracing our cultural roots while allowing ourselves the freedom to explore alternative viewpoints fosters a deeper understanding of our identities. It can be beneficial to reflect on how your own cultural influences have shaped your thoughts and behaviors. Ask yourself, what traditions resonate with you, and which ones challenge you? This self-reflection can empower you to align your actions with your true beliefs. In being aware of these influences, you not only honor your past, but also embrace the opportunity to create a future that reflects your authentic self. I've found that this balance can redirect our paths in unexpected and fulfilling ways. Traditions that shape us. Family traditions and cultural practices weave a rich tapestry of who we are. They craft our identities, embedding values and beliefs deep within us. Reflecting on my childhood, I remember the rhythms of family gatherings, the smell of homemade dishes simmering on the stove, and the laughter of relatives filling the space. Each tradition, whether it was our annual holiday celebrations or the way we celebrated birthdays, played a significant role in shaping my sense of self. As a child, I didn't fully understand their impact, but now I realize how these shared experiences grounded me. They taught me the importance of connection, of belonging, and of the stories that define our heritage. In my family, we passed down stories of resilience, tales of my grandparents who immigrated with nothing but dreams. These narratives are not just history, they are the threads that connect generations, reminding us of where we came from and the strength we need to forge ahead. Understanding and preserving our cultural roots is essential, yet embracing individuality is equally vital. My journey has been one of honoring the traditions that shaped me while carving out my path. Each time I try something new, whether it's exploring a different cuisine or creating my own way of celebrating holidays, I stand at a crossroads. I ask myself how to respect those traditions while allowing my unique personality to shine through. It's a delicate balance. I can love the stories of my ancestors without being confined by them. I've learned to honor what came before me and to bring my own experiences into that space. As we navigate our identities, it is essential to recognize that we can both celebrate our cultural heritages and revel in our personal journeys. We become richer, more complex individuals when we embrace both the past and the present. In this world where cultures intersect and blend, we have the opportunity to create a mosaic of experiences. By preserving the values and customs we hold dear while exploring our individuality, we enrich not only our own lives but also the lives of others around us. It's about creating a legacy that honors the past but is not imprisoned by it. Engage with your own traditions. What do they mean to you? Identify ways to keep them alive, but don't be afraid to expand or adapt them. The most meaningful traditions are often those that evolve over time, just as we do. Allow your identity to grow from these practices, turning what has shaped you into a source of inspiration for those who come after. The power of norms and values. Societal norms shape the framework of our lives, influencing not only how we behave but also how we perceive the world around us. These unwritten rules, often handed down through generations, dictate our expectations of others and ourselves. I remember growing up in a small town where traditions reigned supreme. We were expected to follow a certain path: graduate high school, go to college, find a stable job, and settle down. Deviating from this trajectory often drew curious stares, and whispers echoed in the hallways, telling me I was stepping out of line. At times, I felt encased in a bubble, adhering strictly to a pattern that did not necessarily reflect my aspirations or desires. The pressure was palpable. It was as if a social contract bound me to a destiny crafted by collective agreement rather than individual choice. Norms shaped my actions, shaping my ambitions to fit within an accepted mold while simultaneously stifling my urge to pursue a more authentic path. Be gentle with yourself on this journey. Each step taken toward truth is a triumph worth celebrating. Breaking free from deceptive patterns, recognizing the cycles of self-deception in my life was like peeling back layers of an onion, only to find more layers beneath. Each layer revealed a truth I had previously ignored or convinced myself wasn't real. It took time and introspection to understand the patterns that held me captive. I learned to identify the whispers of justification that crept in during moments of weakness, making excuses to avoid facing uncomfortable truths. Through this process, I discovered strategies that helped me break free. One essential step was to become aware of the negative self-talk that would derail my progress. I started documenting my thoughts, noticing how often I would rationalize behaviors that contradicted my values. This practice of writing down my feelings not only unveiled my patterns but also illuminated the reasons behind my actions. Embracing honesty with myself was the most liberating experience I could have imagined. The moment I acknowledged my flaws and failures without judgment was the moment I began to heal. I realized that honesty is not about self-criticism but about understanding and acceptance. It was vital for me to create a safe space where I could confront my inner narratives without the fear of shame. By learning to speak kindly to myself and practicing self-compassion, I transformed what once felt like a relentless cycle of deception into an opportunity for growth. Each truthful acknowledgement stripped away years of pretense and freed me from the burdens of guilt and denial I had clung to. As I continued on this path, one principle emerged clearly: self-honesty requires courage. It meant allowing myself to be vulnerable, to expose my true self to the world, and most importantly, to myself. In those moments of vulnerability, I discovered resilience. Accepting my imperfections allowed me to connect more authentically with others. I also realized that confronting my fears brought me closer to those who were navigating similar battles. A powerful tip I found useful is to have a trusted confidant in your journey, someone who can reflect your truths back to you without judgment. Speaking openly and honestly about my experiences became a beacon of hope, reinforcing that it's okay to break free from the patterns that no longer serve us. Finally, the liberation of honesty has made the journey not just bearable but deeply fulfilling, and I encourage anyone to embrace this transformative process towards self-discovery. Chapter 9. The Burden of Expectation. Expectations. I often find myself caught in a tug-of-war between what I want and what the world expects. This tension can be so palpable, like a tightrope walker balancing precariously above a chasm. My inner desires whisper sweet visions of a life filled with authenticity and passion, but they are often drowned out by the loud, demanding voices of societal pressures. Everyone, from family to friends to strangers, seems to have an opinion about the path I should take. Every time I scroll through social media, I see snippets of lives curated to perfection, and I can't help but feel an ache in my heart. Am I not enough? Why do I feel this pull to conform when my true self yearns to break free? This conflict creates an internal chaos that can be overwhelming, leading to feelings of inadequacy and dissatisfaction. This leads me to consider how deeply society's expectations shape our sense of self-worth. The constant comparison to others, the chase for approval, and the desire to fit into molds laid out before me can feel suffocating. I started to notice how my happiness seemed tied to external validation. Achievements that once filled me with pride became mere markers of approval, not personal milestones. I often wondered if happiness was truly within reach, or just a reaction to the accolades and affirmations from those around me. The pressure to meet these expectations eroded the joy I once found in simple achievements. It became clear that I wasn't just chasing my dreams. I was also running from the fear of judgment and disappointment. I realized it was essential to reframe my views to distinguish between what was expected of me and what I truly wanted. Finding that balance is challenging but necessary for reclaiming my self-worth. Through this journey of understanding, I learned that the expectations imposed by society do not have to dictate my happiness or define me. True fulfillment stems from acknowledging and honoring my inner self. I began to practice self-reflection, allowing myself the grace to explore my desires without the weight of external judgment. It became crucial to create space for introspection, to ask myself what truly resonates with my spirit. Embracing this process taught me that while societal expectations are pervasive, they do not have to be absolute. Every so often, I remind myself that my path is mine alone to tread and that embracing my unique journey is the ultimate act of resilience. One practical way to cultivate this inward focus is by keeping a daily journal, a space where I can express my thoughts freely, away from societal filters. This simple act can support the transition from external pressure to internal clarity, reminding me that I am and always will be enough. The cost of conformity. Conforming to societal norms often feels like slipping into a well-worn pair of shoes. The comfort, familiarity, and social acceptance that come with fitting in can be intoxicating. However, beneath this surface lies a profound truth. The sacrifices we make in the name of conformity can exact a heavy toll on our true selves. I remember the time I chose to study a subject that I believed would appease my parents and society rather than pursuing the creative path that excited me. I traded in my passion for art for a degree in business, thinking this would secure a stable future. Day after day, I nestled into classrooms, promising myself that I could create art on the side. Yet, with each lecture, I felt a piece of my authentic self fading away, replaced by a version of me that felt like a ghost. It wasn't just the hours spent studying a subject that didn't ignite my spirit, it was the gradual erosion of my identity, the quiet whispers of regret that lingered as I tested the boundaries of someone I wasn't. In those quiet moments when I lay awake at night, I often replayed the choices that led me down this path. I thought about the art exhibitions I missed, the sketchbooks gathering dust, and the vibrant dreams I had buried under layers of expectation. The weight of conformity became a lingering presence, one that felt heavier as I watched friends pursue their passions fearlessly while I crafted a life around duty and obligation. I recall a conversation with a close friend who embraced her quirks and reveled in her unique style. It was in that moment that the pang of regret struck me hardest. I realized that by conforming, I wasn't just bending to external pressures, I was betraying my own heart. Her freedom illuminated a path I dared not tread, a distant echo of the life I had once imagined for myself. Perhaps the most crucial lesson I learned through this journey is that authenticity fosters genuine happiness. Every day, we face choices that allow us to express who we truly are or to hide beneath a facade crafted by the expectations of others. Embracing our unique self doesn't always lead to a straightforward path, but it promises something more valuable: fulfillment. By choosing to invest in our passions, whether big or small, we reclaim pieces of our lost identity. Take a moment to reflect on your own life. Where have you conformed? What dreams have you set aside for the comfort of acceptance? There's beauty in stepping off the well-trodden path and daring to walk your own. Cultivating authenticity can spark joy and connection that conformity simply cannot offer. Embracing authenticity. Embracing authenticity over societal acceptance is perhaps one of the most liberating choices I've ever made. For years, I aimed to fit into the molds that society created, striving for approval and wearing the masks that others expected of me. The pressure to conform often felt like a suffocating blanket, stifling my true self. The reality is that society often values conformity over individuality. We see it everywhere, in fashion, in opinions, and even in the paths we choose. But what if stepping away from this pressure is the key to true fulfillment? Authenticity is not just about being genuine, it's about the courage to be different, to express our unique perspectives, and to celebrate our own quirks. It invites a sense of freedom that opens doors, fostering genuine connections with others who resonate with our true selves. My journey toward living authentically has been anything but easy. I distinctly remember the pivotal moment when I decided to break free from the expectations that confined me. It started with small acts, sharing an opinion that diverged from the mainstream, embracing my passion for unconventional hobbies, and dressing in a way that felt true to my character rather than merely acceptable. Each step forward was met with resistance, sometimes even from those I loved. But I learned that living authentically often means walking against the grain. The discomfort of divergence became a source of strength. I felt a gradual transformation within me. I was learning not just to accept myself, but to revel in my uniqueness. With this newfound authenticity, I began to attract relationships grounded in honesty and mutual respect, as if putting a magnet out into the world for those who truly aligned with my essence. As I look back, I realize that embracing authenticity transforms not just the individual but the space around them. When we celebrate our true selves, we invite others to do the same. I began to notice that those around me started sharing their stories, revealing their vulnerabilities, and stepping into their own light. The journey isn't always straightforward, and sometimes it requires revisiting old patterns and confronting past fears. Yet every challenge faced brings a deeper understanding of who we are. A practical step in this journey is to regularly create a space for self-reflection. Ask yourself, what do I genuinely want, and what feels authentic to me? Taking time to connect with your inner self can illuminate paths you never considered, guiding you toward a life where authenticity reigns supreme. Embrace it and watch as life unfolds in vibrant, unexpected ways. Chapter 10. Relationships and Hidden Agendas. Understanding interpersonal dynamics. Every time I engage with others, I find myself navigating a complex web of motives that often goes unnoticed. It's fascinating how our underlying desires can both connect us and drive us apart. In conversations with friends, family, or even strangers, I've observed that our intentions rarely align perfectly. Sometimes I seek companionship to combat loneliness, while at other times I crave validation or understanding. The deeper I delve into these emotional currents, the clearer it becomes that our interactions are influenced by a myriad of psychological factors, from fear and insecurity to love and ambition. Understanding these motives not only clarifies our relationships but also colors our responses to one another. When I reflect on my past experiences, I recall misunderstandings that arose simply from unacknowledged desires. My friends and I often mistook their need for space as disinterest or disengagement. These complexities illustrate how intertwined our lives are, how one person's actions can radically shift the emotional landscape for others. Awareness of these interpersonal dynamics has opened the door to healthier connections. By tuning into the motives that drive my behavior and the behavior of those around me, I've discovered the power of empathy. Instead of reacting defensively when someone withdraws, I now stop to consider their perspective. This shift has transformed how I interact. For instance, when a close friend seemed distant, I approached the situation with curiosity rather than suspicion. Asking open-ended questions about their feelings fostered a space for genuine dialogue, leading us to a deeper understanding of each other's lives and stresses. It's remarkable how this level of awareness can foster open communication, paving the way for more authentic connections. The more I explore these dynamics within myself, the more capable I feel of nurturing my relationships, allowing them to grow and evolve rather than stagnate in misunderstanding. By embracing this understanding of interpersonal dynamics, we can embark on a journey that reshapes our social landscapes. The next time you sense tension with someone, take a moment to reflect on both your motives and theirs. Are you seeking validation? Do they need reassurance? Recognizing these underlying currents allows us to navigate conflicts with grace and compassion, transforming potential points of contention into opportunities for connection and growth. Love with strings attached. Hidden agendas can seep into relationships, transforming what begins as pure affection into a tangled web of expectations and conditions. I remember a time when I naively believed that love was simple and unconditional. A specific relationship from my past challenged that notion and opened my eyes to the complexities of human emotions. I think back to the moments when my partner's love felt tied to my actions, woven intricately with his desires and my compliance. When I stumbled, his warmth faded, indicating that my love had become a performance rather than a genuine connection. This realization was painful, yet it forced me to confront how often affection can be laced with unspoken demands, changing the entire essence of the bond we shared. Reflecting on this experience, I learned that conditional love often masquerades as genuine care. My partner and I shared good times, laughter, and even dreams of the future. However, whenever I expressed a desire that didn't align with his expectations, the closeness we had would wane, revealing his love's contingent nature. It was a cycle I struggled to navigate, as I often felt that I had to earn his affection through certain behaviors. In this way, the love felt more transactional than emotional, leading to a stream of heartache. Each experience like this taught me to differentiate between love that uplifts and love shackled by terms and conditions, prompting deeper questions about what I truly wanted from a relationship. Ultimately, knowing the difference between unconditional and conditional love is vital for fostering healthier connections. I found that it was crucial to communicate boundaries and desires openly, something I hadn't done before. By prioritizing transparency, I learned to nurture relationships built on mutual respect and freedom rather than hidden agendas. Each moment of clarity I reached became an important building block for my understanding of love and relationships, guiding me toward experiences that felt fulfilling rather than suffocating. It's worth remembering that love should be a source of strength and comfort, woven from trust and openness, devoid of strings that tug on the heart. The quest for mutual understanding. Mutual understanding isn't just a shiny ideal, it's the bedrock upon which lasting relationships are built. I often found myself marveling at how two people could share the same space yet occupy entirely different worlds. Each conversation can feel like two ships passing in the night, full of intention yet just missing the mark. Over time, I learned that truly understanding another person requires not just a willingness to listen but an authentic desire to see the world through their eyes. This practice of empathy transformed the way I interacted with family, friends, and even strangers. It helped me navigate countless difficult conversations. When I made the effort to dig deeper, peeling back the layers of assumptions and judgments, I discovered the intricate tapestry of emotions that colors our interactions. In those moments, relationships blossomed, becoming more resilient and fulfilling. The journey toward clarity with loved ones is both challenging and rewarding. There were days when attempts at open dialogue felt like a dance on a tightrope. I remember a particularly heated discussion with a close friend where we both seemed more invested in defending our viewpoints than in hearing each other. The air was thick with frustration, our hearts were in the right place, but we were worlds apart. Those moments can be daunting, filled with missteps and misunderstandings. Yet through each struggle, we slowly discovered the beauty that comes from resolving conflict and learning about one another's hopes, dreams, and fears. There's a unique high that follows the realization that two minds can indeed sync after all, a shared epiphany making the connection feel almost electric. The process can leave you breathless, heralding new depths of intimacy and respect in your relationships. Realizing the importance of mutual understanding has led me to appreciate the immense value of patience and vulnerability when misunderstandings arise, because they will. It's essential to approach the situation with openness and humility. Each interaction becomes a step toward greater clarity, a chance to delve into the underlying feelings that drive our words and actions. Embracing these moments can facilitate connection in surprising ways. The next time you find yourself in the midst of confusion or conflict, remember that seeking to understand is not about who is right or wrong, but about keeping the channel for conversation open. Reflect on what it might feel like to be in the other person's shoes, and let that compassion guide your approach. Chapter 11. The Power of Vulnerability. Fear of being hurt. There is a certain weight to vulnerability that few truly understand until they bear its burden themselves. Looking back, I see the roots of my fear stretching deep into the soil of past hurts and rejections. Each experience was like a sharp stone embedded in a path, reminding me of the pain that could come from opening up. I learned early on that sharing my true self could lead to consequences I wasn't ready to face, from friendships that fizzled out to the ache of unrequited love. Each wound etched a message into my being: don't let them in too close, don't show them your heart. I became a master of disguise, donning a mask to shield myself from the potential of hurt. But underneath it all, that fear of being vulnerable sat like a quiet storm, always hovering, always present. As I navigated through life, I often found myself battling this fear daily. Each time I felt the urge to share my thoughts or emotions, a voice inside would whisper caution. Opening up felt like standing on a cliff, gazing down into uncertainty. I wrestled with the idea of potential outcomes, imagining both the glorious liberation of connection and the paralyzing fear of rejection. The possibility of being hurt loomed larger than any desire for intimacy. I struggled to find that delicate balance, the point at which the desire to connect outweighed the fear of being wounded. Each encounter, whether it was a budding friendship or a romantic interest, became a battleground where I fought my instinct to withdraw. The dichotomy of wanting closeness yet fearing the pain of loss left me in a constant state of tension. Yet with every small step I took toward openness, I discovered a little more about myself and what it meant to truly live. In those moments of turmoil, it became clear to me that facing the fear of being hurt is not just about conquering a psychological barrier. It's about recognizing that vulnerability can also lead to growth and healing. Each shared story or moment of honesty chips away at that fortress I built around my heart. I began to notice the profound outcomes that emerged when I allowed myself to be seen. True friendships blossomed, and connections deepened in ways I never anticipated. I started to view vulnerability not as a weakness but as a strength, a means to build bridges instead of walls. As I learned to embrace openness, I felt the echoes of past wounds fade slightly, accompanied by the realization that love and connection, however risky, were worth the potential discomfort. Take small, deliberate steps toward vulnerability, allowing yourself to open up first in safe spaces, whether it's with trusted friends or through journaling your thoughts. Each act of sharing nudges the door open just a little more, exposing the beautiful, tender landscape of human connection waiting on the other side. The strength in open communication. Vulnerability isn't often seen as a strength, but it holds remarkable power in interpersonal communication. When I allow myself to be open and honest about my feelings, I invite others to do the same. It creates a space where the masks we wear can be put down, even if just for a moment. I remember sharing my fears and insecurities during a difficult time in my life. Instead of feeling exposed, I felt a wave of relief wash over me. Others responded by sharing their own vulnerabilities, and what began as a simple conversation blossomed into a profound connection. It became clear that being open about our struggles, rather than hiding them, can lead to richer, more meaningful interactions. The beauty of open dialogue lies in its ability to weave threads of understanding and intimacy between people. When we engage in conversations that go beyond surface-level topics, we tap into a realm where empathy thrives. I found that the more I practiced this openness, the more my relationships transformed. Friends and loved ones began to feel like a support system rather than just acquaintances. One evening, as I sat with a dear friend, we dove deep into our hopes and dreams, our fears and failures. The vulnerability we shared that night brought us closer than I ever thought possible. It made me realize that true connection is built on mutual trust and the willingness to be seen for who we truly are. Encouraging open communication isn't always easy, but it's incredibly rewarding. By fostering this kind of environment, we not only enrich our relationships but also create a culture where authenticity thrives. The next time you find yourself in a conversation, consider being a little more open. Share a piece of yourself and invite others to do the same. You may discover a depth of connection that you never realized was missing. Finding liberation in transparency. Being transparent with oneself and others can feel like standing in front of an open window, wide and unguarded. I remember the first time I truly allowed my vulnerabilities to surface. It was both terrifying and liberating. No longer was I trapped in the confines of my own mind, battling insecurities and self-doubt. Instead, I stepped into the light with a sense of freedom I had never known. Embracing my imperfections and sharing them with the world transformed my relationships and, most importantly, my relationship with myself. It was in those raw moments of honesty that I discovered a strength I didn't know existed. I could finally breathe without the weight of pretense pulling me down. Transparency became a powerful antidote to the fear of judgment, allowing me to connect more authentically with others. As I began to share my story, my failures, fears, and truths, I encountered others who found their voice through my honesty. There was a moment at a gathering where I spoke openly about a challenging period in my life. My heart raced as I shared my journey, but then something remarkable happened. Others began to share their own stories, creating an atmosphere charged with vulnerability. It was a circle of empowerment, where displaying our true selves sparked mutual understanding and support. I learned that vulnerability is not a weakness. It's a channel through which we can lift each other. Each story shared added a thread to our collective tapestry, showing that liberation comes from standing together in our authenticity. This revelation was transformative, inspiring me to lean into vulnerability in every facet of my life, leading to enriching connections and deeper intimacy with those around me. Finding liberation in transparency is not just about sharing. It's also about learning to accept and embrace one's own reality. In this journey, I realized that the most profound strength often flows from the willingness to be seen, to discard the masks we wear and define ourselves not by others' expectations but by our truths. The next time you find yourself grappling with fear around being vulnerable, remember that your honesty might just be a beacon for someone else seeking the same freedom. Practice sharing a piece of your truth today, no matter how small it may seem. Each act of openness can ripple out in ways we may never fully understand, resulting in both personal growth and the forging of bonds that uplift and inspire. Chapter 12. Decision-Making and Conflicted Desires. The Paradox of Choice. Every time I stand in the cereal aisle at the grocery store, I feel a wave of anxiety wash over me. There are dozens of options, from organic to sugary, gluten-free to protein-packed. I remember a time when choosing a box of cereal simply meant picking my favorite flavor, but now the multitude of choices creates an overwhelming sense of decision fatigue. This paradox of choice, where we are faced with so many options that making a decision becomes paralyzing, is both a blessing and a curse. While having choices is meant to empower us, it often leads to confusion and self-doubt. I find myself questioning if I'm making the right choice, wondering if I'm missing out on an even better option just a few steps away in the aisle. The burden of too many options isn't just confined to grocery stores. I've experienced it in many areas of my life, from picking a restaurant for dinner, where I scroll through endless menus, to deciding on a movie to watch, only to feel exhausted and settle for something completely mundane. One particular evening stands out in my memory. My friends and I decided to order takeout, but as the minutes turned into hours, we found ourselves trapped in a loop of suggestions and rejections. Each friend had a different craving, but as we tossed around our favorite places, I could see the excitement drain from everyone's faces. In the end, we ordered from a place none of us felt strongly about, all because we were too depleted by the sheer volume of options to make a definitive choice. This experience taught me a valuable lesson. Sometimes less truly is more. Limiting choices can actually simplify life and bring clarity to our decisions. I began to adopt a strategy of narrowing down my options intentionally. Instead of browsing every single item available, I set criteria that helped me quickly filter choices. For example, when looking for a new book to read, I limit myself to a genre I know I enjoy or ask friends for recommendations. By doing this, I transform what could be a daunting experience into something exciting and manageable. The next time you find yourself overwhelmed by choices, remember that setting boundaries can lead to greater satisfaction and ease. Embrace the power of simplification, and you may discover that making decisions can be both fulfilling and joyful. Navigating conflicting interests. Our lives are often a labyrinth of competing desires, each beckoning for our attention and loyalty. I felt the weight of these conflicts in many forms, whether it's choosing between ambition and contentment, love and independence, or personal growth and familiarity. Each decision I've faced has felt like standing at a crossroads, with paths that promise vastly different outcomes. The competing interests can create an internal tug-of-war that complicates our ability to make clear decisions. At times, it feels like a constant balancing act, where one interest pulls me one way while another tugs me in the opposite direction, creating friction and confusion. This complexity forces me to pause and examine what truly matters, delving deeper into the root of my desires and what they signify about my values and priorities. To navigate these conflicting desires, I've learned the importance of self-reflection and prioritization. One pivotal strategy I've embraced is to create a clear hierarchy of priorities based on what resonates most with my core values. This involves honest conversations with myself, viewing desires not as static desires but as evolving aspects of my identity. There are moments when I must step back and reassess, asking probing questions. What will bring me fulfillment in the long run? What sacrifices am I willing to make? Engaging in this introspection has provided clarity, allowing me to see which conflicts require resolution and which can coexist, creating a more harmonious existence. I've discovered that it's also vital to communicate openly with others involved in these conflicts, seeking their perspectives and support as I navigate my choices. Ultimately, balancing conflicting interests is not about eliminating tension but finding a way to coexist with it. It requires a willingness to adapt and a commitment to remain open to change. I remind myself that it's perfectly okay to hold conflicting interests, as they often inspire growth and lead to new opportunities. Friends and mentors can help me explore these feelings, so one practical tip I found valuable is to keep a journal where I jot down my thoughts and feelings about conflicting interests. It not only helps to organize my thoughts but also clarifies what I genuinely value at any given moment. This little practice has transformed many of my internal conflicts into stepping stones for growth, teaching me that navigating these complexities is part of the beautiful journey of life. The role of intuition. Intuition often serves as a compass in the labyrinth of choices we encounter daily. It's that inexplicable sense of knowing, a whisper of guidance that emerges from the depths of our subconscious. This intangible force has played a crucial role in my decision-making processes, especially during moments when logical reasoning seemed unable to provide a clear path. I can recall times when I was faced with significant choices, a career change, a relationship decision, or even where to travel next. In each instance, there was an internal nudge, a feeling that urged me toward a particular direction, suggesting a path that my analytical mind was hesitant to accept. Reflecting on these moments reveals a tapestry of experiences shaped by intuitive choices that led to surprising outcomes. One vivid memory stands out. I was at a career crossroads, unsure whether to accept a lucrative job offer or pursue a more passion-driven path. A sudden, inexplicable inclination guided me to reject the offer, even as friends urged me to take the practical route. Trusting that feeling opened doors to opportunities one could never have imagined. I delved into work that not only aligned with my values but also connected with others on a profound level. That leap of faith, driven by intuition, launched my career in a direction rich with fulfillment. It was as if the universe conspired to reward my trust in that instinct, weaving a story I still cherish. The beauty of intuition lies in its capacity to surprise us. Sometimes those gut feelings lead us down paths where we learn and grow in unexpected ways. Whether it's a spontaneous decision to call an old friend or an impulse to explore a new hobby, every intuitive choice we make can be a stepping stone to something greater. Trusting those instincts can be daunting, particularly when they clash with conventional wisdom or rational thought. However, embracing this inner voice can lead you to transformative experiences that challenge everything you thought you knew. As you navigate your own life's choices, pausing to listen to that quiet voice within may just unveil new adventures waiting to be discovered. Chapter 13. The Pursuit of Happiness. Defining true happiness. Happiness is a word we hear often, spoken in the context of achievements, relationships, and experiences. However, its definition is as multifaceted as our lives. It's easy to fall into the trap of believing that happiness is a destination to be reached, something to be attained through success or external validation. I remember a time when I thought that if I achieved a certain milestone or acquired the latest gadget, I would feel genuinely happy. Yet, when I found myself surrounded by those achievements, I often felt a strange emptiness instead. This realization made me question everything I believed about happiness. Was it really just about circumstances, or was it something deeper? As I explored my feelings, I discovered that happiness is frequently misunderstood. It is not a constant state, but rather a series of fleeting moments, often intertwined with life's challenges. It exists alongside sadness and frustration, weaving a richer tapestry of human experience. Encouraging those who read this to ponder their definitions of happiness becomes crucial in this journey. I invite you to take a moment and reflect on what truly fulfills you. Is it the joy of a sunlit afternoon spent with friends, or the calm that comes from a moment of solitude? Perhaps it's the thrill of pursuing a passion or the satisfaction of helping others. Each of us holds a unique perspective shaped by personal experiences, beliefs, and desires. Digging into your soul can illuminate what brings you joy and fulfillment. Ask yourself, what moments made my heart feel light? What actions brought me a sense of purpose? This exploration is not just about counting your blessings, but understanding what resonates with you on a deeper level. Your definition of happiness is waiting to be uncovered, and it may surprise you how different it is from the societal norms imposed upon us. The role of external validation. External validation often casts a long shadow over our understanding of happiness. Growing up, I believed that what others thought of me defined my worth. When I received a compliment, it would send a rush of joy through me, but when that affirmation was absent, I would feel lost, as if my happiness was tethered to others' perceptions. I noticed how the likes and shares on social media could uplift me one moment and drain me of all self-esteem the next. These fleeting moments of validation shaped my sense of self in ways that felt genuine but ultimately only skimmed the surface of my true feelings. The truth is, the external validation I sought rarely provided the satisfaction I craved. Instead, it often distorted my reality, morphing happiness into a series of highs and lows dictated by external approval. There were pivotal moments in my life when I realized that the validation I envisioned often came up short. I remember standing on a stage, the audience clapping their approval, swirling around me like confetti. In that moment, I should have felt on top of the world, yet a nagging emptiness lingered. It became clear that applause, cheers, and approval from others could only fill my spirit so much. There was a time when my achievements, decorated with trophies and accolades, felt weightless. The euphoria of the moment soon gave way to the understanding that such recognition did not truly reflect my value or my happiness. These experiences unveiled a painful yet transformative lesson. The accolades from the outside world are hollow if they do not resonate within me. Recognizing this gap between external validation and internal fulfillment prompted me to seek deeper connections with my own sense of happiness, allowing me to embrace the notion that true value comes from within, not from the applause of the crowd. Understanding the limitations of external validation offers a crucial insight. We can begin to cultivate our own self-worth and happiness independently. By reflecting on personal strengths and accomplishments without waiting for others to affirm them, we can reclaim our happiness from the hands of external circumstances. Journaling about moments when I felt proud of myself, regardless of external recognition, has been a powerful practice. This exercise not only shifted my focus inward, but also fostered a profound sense of gratitude for my journey, with all its ups and downs. The essence of a fulfilling life lies not in the fleeting approvals of others, but in recognizing our intrinsic worth, chasing our dreams authentically, and defining happiness on our own terms. Finding joy within ourselves. The notion of self-derived happiness has always intrigued me. For too long, I sought joy through external sources, relationships, achievements, the latest trends. But each time, I felt the elation fade, leaving behind a void that was hard to fill. It dawned on me that true contentment springs from within. This realization was liberating. The power to be happy was not reliant on anyone else. I began to explore activities that resonated with me, ones that filled me with a genuine sense of joy without the need for approval or validation from the outside world. I found happiness in little things: a quiet morning with a warm cup of coffee, the beauty of nature on a walk, or the satisfaction of creating something from scratch. When I started prioritizing these experiences, the quality of my life transformed and blossomed in ways I never imagined. Finding joy within ourselves is not a destination but a continuous journey. The more I explored my internal landscape, the more resilient I became to external fluctuations. I realized that joy lies not in perfection but in authenticity. Life will always have its challenges, yet approaching these challenges with a mindset rooted in self-acceptance and self-love can transform your experience. Embrace your inner voice and let it guide you toward the things that genuinely bring you delight. Start small. Take moments to notice the things that make you smile each day. Remember, joy is woven into the fabric of everyday life, often hidden in plain sight, just waiting to be uncovered. Chapter 14. Creating a Life of Intent. The Importance of Intentionality. Living with intent means making conscious choices rather than letting life happen to us. Each day, we have the power to decide how we will navigate our reality, shaping our experiences through purposeful decisions. When I began to adopt this mindset, I noticed subtle yet profound shifts in my life. Intentionality brought clarity amidst chaos, allowing me to focus on what truly mattered to me instead of drifting from task to task. I began asking myself why I was doing things. Was that late-night scrolling through social media enhancing my life, or was it just a way to fill time? Understanding the reasons behind my actions helped me to discard unnecessary habits and cultivate more fulfilling ones. It was empowering knowing that I could steer my life in a direction based on my values and hopes. My journey into intentional living was not just theoretical. It was filled with real moments that illustrated the impact of this approach. I remember a time when I was overwhelmed by my job. I was working late nights, feeling trapped in a never-ending cycle of stress. After some reflection, I made a conscious decision to balance my time better. Instead of working late every night, I started setting boundaries and prioritizing my personal life. This shift allowed me to reconnect with my passion for painting, an activity that had long been abandoned. The decision to live intentionally, to prioritize my well-being over work demands, resulted in more fulfillment and creativity flowing into my life. These experiences reinforced that intentionality isn't merely about planning. It's about aligning decisions with personal truths, creating a life that resonates with our core selves. One practical lesson from my journey involves setting small intentional goals. Instead of overwhelming myself with grand plans, I began to focus on one meaningful change at a time. For example, dedicating just 10 minutes each morning to meditation transformed my outlook and grounded my day. Over time, these small deliberate actions accumulated, leading to significant changes. This practice taught me that intentionality is not about making sweeping changes overnight. It's about embedding thoughtful choices into everyday life and remaining open to growth. Start with one tiny intention today and watch how it can ripple into a more purposeful existence. Setting meaningful goals. Identifying and setting goals that resonate deeply with us requires a journey into our own motivations and desires. For me, it started by asking the question, what truly matters in my life? This led me to reflect on my passions, values, and the experiences that have shaped who I am. I learned that setting goals isn't about ticking boxes or meeting societal expectations. Instead, it's about crafting a vision that brings joy and fulfillment. I focused on what made my heart race and what dreams I tucked away for years, believing they were out of reach. I found that breaking down larger aspirations into smaller, achievable goals made the process less daunting. Each small success fueled my motivation, and with every milestone, I built a clearer path toward a rewarding life. As I navigated the landscape of my personal journey, I noticed how my approach to goal setting matured. In my younger years, my goals were often influenced by external voices, family, friends, and society at large. I embarked on the classic chase for accolades, from grades to promotions, believing they would fulfill me. However, as I grew, I understood that true satisfaction comes from aligning my goals with my authentic self. The process became less about ambition and more about self-discovery. I explored new interests and allowed space for dreams that initially seemed unrealistic. This shift in mindset, from seeking approval to pursuing what genuinely excited me, transformed not only my goals but the way I approached life. Setting meaningful goals has become a dynamic practice rather than a static list. I now frequently reevaluate my aspirations, allowing them to evolve alongside me. This fluidity ensures that my goals remain relevant and inspiring. I invite the reader to create their own flexible framework for goal setting. Remember, a meaningful goal is one that reflects your unique journey and helps you grow. Embrace the power of reevaluation and allow your goals to serve as a compass that guides you through life's incredible adventure. Cultivating a purposeful existence. Daily practices shape the fabric of our lives, particularly when it comes to cultivating a sense of purpose and meaning. I began to understand this intricately woven connection as I embarked on my journey toward living with intention. Simple acts like journaling my thoughts and reflecting on my experiences brought clarity to what truly mattered to me. Engaging in mindfulness not only heightened my awareness but also allowed me to appreciate the moments that often pass unnoticed. Over time, I found that setting small, achievable goals helped establish a sense of direction. These goals, whether related to my career, relationships, or personal growth, served as anchors in tumultuous times. Strengthening my connections with loved ones by participating in shared activities became another layer of meaning in my life. I started to realize that purpose flourishes in relationships where empathy and support bind individuals together, creating a vibrant tapestry of shared stories and experiences. Sometimes, simply engaging in acts of kindness toward others, such as volunteering or offering support to someone in need, sparked a deeper sense of fulfillment than I had imagined. Reflecting back, I recall several transformative moments that acted as pivotal points in my life, redirecting me toward a clearer sense of purpose. One such moment was when I found myself in a chat with an elder who shared stories of their youth. The passion with which they spoke ignited something deep within me, prompting me to evaluate my approach to life. Inspired by their vigor, I began exploring my own passions with renewed energy. I remember standing on a stage for the first time, delivering a speech that resonated with others in a way I had never expected. That experience shifted my perspective. It revealed how sharing my voice could impact others and instilled in me a desire to communicate more effectively. Each encounter or experience that challenged my views pushed me to reflect and grow, ultimately steering me toward a clearer direction. Resilience played a role in these moments too. Embracing failure taught me about humility and encouraged me to realign my path, guiding me to find meaning in pursuing my passions. It was at these intersections of challenge and revelation that I learned the importance of adaptability in my quest for purpose. Purpose is not a destination but a journey, often illuminated by enlightening experiences. I discovered that being open to new experiences can spark joy and realign one's direction. For anyone feeling lost or disconnected, it is worthwhile to carve out quiet moments for introspection amid life's chaos. Consider asking yourself questions about what truly matters, what brings joy, and what you want to leave behind. Honor your core values, as they act as the compass guiding you in your pursuit of purpose. As I continue on my journey, I realize that priorities evolve, and that's perfectly okay. Each day presents an opportunity to cultivate a life imbued with purpose, and through small, deliberate actions, we can enrich our lives and the lives of others in our community. Chapter 15. Transforming Insight into Action. From Awareness to Change. Awareness is a powerful catalyst for change. I learned this truth during a moment of reflection that transformed my life in ways I never anticipated. In the busyness of daily routines, we often overlook the subtle whispers of our inner selves, urging us toward something greater. Recognizing these nudges can be the first step in a profound journey. It was during a particularly stagnant period in my career that I stumbled upon the importance of self-awareness. I began to question my choices and ambitions, asking myself if I was truly happy or just going through the motions. This inquisitive mindset opened doors to insights I had never considered, illuminating the path toward actionable change. Change became not just a possibility but a necessity as I realized I was the only one holding the keys to my fulfillment. Reflecting on my journey, I recall a moment when a simple conversation with a friend sparked transformative change. He pointed out that I always seemed overwhelmed and unfulfilled. At first, I resisted his observation, but deep down, I knew he was right. After some soul-searching, I decided to take control of my situation. I started practicing mindfulness, which made me more attuned to my emotions and needs. This awareness led to significant changes in my work-life balance. I began setting boundaries that empowered me to pursue passions outside my job. Each small step, from taking time for myself to reconnecting with old hobbies, added up to a significant shift in my outlook. I felt more energized and motivated than ever, knowing that I had taken tangible steps rooted in awareness. Your own journey from awareness to change doesn't require a grand epiphany. Sometimes it simply starts with a question. Ask yourself, what makes you feel truly alive? Embrace the insights that come from that reflection. Pay attention to those small nudges in your daily life. They could guide you toward necessary adjustments that elevate your happiness and fulfillment. When you recognize what needs to shift, it becomes easier to implement real changes in your life. Just remember, the path to transformation is yours to navigate, and awareness is the compass that will guide you toward a more vibrant existence. The accountability factor. Accountability plays a crucial role in sustaining change and growth. It's not just about holding ourselves to our promises, but also about creating a support system that encourages us to stay on track. For me, it became a lighthouse in my journey through personal transformation. When faced with challenges, I often found that the mere act of sharing my goals with someone else made them feel more tangible and achievable. It was as if, by voicing my intentions and aspirations, I was asking the universe and those around me to hold me responsible for them. This dynamic made my ambitions feel less solitary and more like a shared mission. The fear of letting someone down often pushed me to put in that extra effort, making me more committed to the changes I wanted to make. Throughout my journey, forming accountability partnerships significantly enhanced my path toward growth. For instance, I once teamed up with a friend who was also trying to adopt healthier habits. We would check in with each other every week, sharing our progress and setbacks. This connection not only kept me motivated, but also provided a safe space to express my frustrations and triumphs. The conversations we had were enlightening, sometimes laughing at our missteps, while other times diving deep into our emotions about the struggles we faced. Knowing that we were in it together created a sense of solidarity. It reminded me that accountability isn't about judgment. It's about support, encouragement, and shared growth. In moments of doubt, I would recall how my challenges resonated with my friend's life. Together, we celebrated the small victories, thus fueling our journey forward. The experience taught me that accountability is not just about tracking progress. It's about building bridges with others who share similar goals. Engaging in open and honest dialogues encourages growth and nurtures resilience. I found that sharing my aspirations with others not only motivated me but also inspired them in their journeys. It's a powerful reminder that we are never alone in our quests for change. So, if you're looking for a practical way to embed accountability into your life, consider finding a partner to share your goals with. This partnership might just become the driving force you didn't know you needed. Sustaining long-term transformation. Transformative changes often ignite a spark of hope and possibility, but maintaining that transformation over time can be much more challenging. While I was caught up in the initial excitement of change, I quickly learned that certain practices acted as anchors, helping me stay the course as I navigated the complexities of life. Establishing routines became essential. Simple daily rituals, such as journaling my thoughts or practicing mindfulness, allowed me to reconnect with the motivations behind my changes. By pausing each day to reflect, I could reinforce the values that prompted my transformation in the first place, making those changes feel less like a fleeting phase and more like a lasting aspect of who I am. Surrounding myself with supportive communities also played a key role. Engaging with individuals on similar journeys provided encouragement and inspiration, fostering an environment where lasting changes could flourish alongside mutual growth. As I began to integrate transformation into my daily life, I found it helpful to revisit my core intentions regularly. I carried a small card with me that reminded me of why I embarked on this journey. It became my touchstone, guiding me through periods of doubt and uncertainty. There were moments when I faltered, when the old ways whispered sweetly, tempting me back to familiar habits. Yet reflecting on how far I'd come was often enough to reignite my commitment. I vividly remember a particular autumn day when I faced a significant setback. My enthusiasm felt overshadowed by self-doubt. Taking a quiet walk in nature, I absorbed the changing leaves around me, each one a symbol of transformation. In that moment, I understood that change doesn't mean perfection but rather a continuous evolution. Holding space for both my struggles and successes allowed me to embrace the complete journey, crafting a story where transformation became a lasting theme in my life. Looking back on my journey, I recognized that sustaining transformation requires conscious choices. It often involves courage, vulnerability, and relentless self-compassion. Practical strategies, such as goal setting and accountability, can be game changers. By setting clear and achievable goals, I created concrete steps toward my aspirations, making the process feel more manageable. I also discovered the power of sharing my journey with others. Opening up about my challenges and triumphs allowed me to learn from others' experiences, forming deeper connections that fueled my resolve. Remember, transformation is not just a destination, it's a lifelong pursuit that evolves with us. Keeping an open heart and a curious mind creates space for new insights and growth, ensuring the changes we cultivate today continue to flourish tomorrow. Thank you for joining me on this enlightening journey through The Elephant in the Brain, uncovering the truth behind our actions. I hope this audiobook has provided you with a deeper understanding of the hidden forces that shape our lives. By uncovering these truths, we can better navigate our relationships, make more informed decisions, and lead lives that are true to our deepest values. Remember, awareness is the first step toward change. As you move forward, may you continue to uncover your own truths, embrace vulnerability, and live with greater authenticity and purpose. Keep exploring, keep questioning, and stay true to yourself. Until next time, keep uncovering the elephants in your brain.